Hey, crazy fam, it's Gracie, and today I'm at the West Virginia State Penitentiary. This place is amazing. Like, look at it, guys. Oh my goodness. I can't wait to go in and check everything out. We're gonna do the tour. It's a 90-minute day tour. Let's go check it out, guys.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. We come up late. You know, walk through this kind of walk. I was the first day.
Just tell them where you want them back.
Almost one. Get 150.
You better be nice to them, too.
Hey. Well, do that like you don't know since we got it again.
So that we do have some repeat offenders. And a lot of fresh meats. Kidding. I'd like to formally welcome you guys to the West Virginia State Penitentiary. My name is Jay. I'll be your tour guide today. When this place opened, it opened in 1866 and it was open for 129 years till it closed March 27, 1995. Upon closure, we had 652 of the state's most violent inmates. And when we closed, we transferred most of those men downstate to the new maximum security prison on Olive Correctional Complex in Fayette County. Then some of those men never left here in Moundsville. They're about a mile out of 12th Street at a maximum security prison and regional jail, Northern Regional. So if you hear me mention those at all today, that's where those men are currently incarcerated, to give you an idea. The side you guys are starting on, you guys are on the newer south side of the prison. Construction on this side started in 1929. Took them about 30 years to finish this side until 1959. But mostly what will be today will be on the old north side of the prison. And that north side was completely quarry cut, laid, and beveled by inmates' hands. They completely built that north side. Funny enough, they built the place that incarcerated them. Now, the room you guys are starting in, you guys are in non-contact visitation. You are sitting where the inmates would have sat. They would have been brought to that little room there, the shakedown room. They would have been shackled, searched. Then they would have been brought here, sat down, and wait for their loved ones. Their loved ones would have came in the same big door you guys came in. They would have got quickly pat down, searched. Then they would have got a card with a number on it that correspond to the numbers above the windows in the horseshoe-shaped hallway. They would have sat down at their respective numbers and spoke to their loved ones through the grates below the windows until 1982, when their loved ones was bringing in dollar bills coated with liquid LSD, rolled up so thinly and tightly lengthwise they could pass it through the holes of those grates. Now I've got to take a second to look at the holes in those grates. Lock her up.
Okay.
So very small holes. We had a tour guide here. He was giving a tour and passing. He said, "You can imagine how hard that'd be. How much practice it would take." One woman looked at him and said, "No." Pulls out a dollar bill, 30 seconds. She has it rolled up so thinly and tightly. If it wasn't sealed off, she could pass it through. He asked her if she was in here visiting somebody in the early 80s. I was wondering what she was doing with her free time. So after that, they sealed off the grates and put the phones above the windows to try to stop the contraband. It didn't help, but at least they tried. And the phones also gave a little bit more privacy with their loved ones to be able to talk. Behind me is where a correctional officer or a CO would have been posted with a pistol on his or her hip. Now you guys can see that is home to Old Sparky. Yes, Old Sparky is a real electric chair originally here. No, that is not where they electrocuted the men. Old Sparky in the gallows where they hung the men would have been in the north yard in the old death house. But in 1965, the death penalty here in West Virginia was abolished and is still yet to be reinstated. So in 1967, they tore out that death house because they no longer had a need for it. The men saw it as an eyesore, so the warden tore it out. But I can show you where that one stood to give you an idea. We've had 94 state sanction executions, 85 hangings. 9 men lost their life in Old Sparky. Old Sparky was inmate made. They sent a man named Paul Glenn to the Ohio State Penitentiary to look at their chair, get some blueprints, come back and build this one out of solid oak. But if you build a contraption that kills your peers, you are not liked anymore. So after a few attempts on his life, he had to be transferred out very shortly after. Now the buttons here, all of this is original hardware to Old Sparky. Only one of those buttons would have been wired live. An electrician would come the night before an execution, and only he would know which button he wired. Then the day of an execution, they get all the guards' names, put them in a jar, give that jar a shake and pick out 3 names. Then they pick out 3 alternate names. The first set of 3 names have to go to those buttons at the same time, pressing, holding, kill me inmate. If one of those guards beforehand say, "No, I can't do that, I don't know if I'm killing you or not," that is all fine and dandy. They were fired on the spot, and one of the alternate names they chose to come and take his place. Also beforehand, the warden or deputy warden could ask which button it was. The electrician could show them. They could walk up and kill the man immediately. It's never happened here, but if it were to, whoever would have pressed that button would have got a $25 bonus on their paycheck for killing the man immediately. Shows you how much a life was worth here in the 1950s, about $25. Now, you guys are going to see some gorgeous artwork in the prison today. It was all done by the men that lived here. About 99% of everything you'll see today is original. But the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation still own the prison, so the state still owns it. They have a mock riot and training for military, police, and correctional officers. So you're going to see signs of live ammo hazards, monitoring cameras, microphones dropping down, fake tear gas canisters. Ignore them. They were not here when this place was open. Like I said, about 99% of everything else is original. You can take photos, you can take videos. You have questions at any time, please feel free to ask me. It's what I'm here for. And trust me, I've heard it all. And if you happen to take a picture or video of me, you post it on social media, go real viral, real famous, get lots of money, remember, come back and visit me. My name's Jalen. So, do we have any questions before we head out?
So just very quickly back way up. So when a prisoner was first brought in, they came in through.
So when they were processed, they would have came in the front in the tallest part of the prison. They would come in that way on the wheel. You'll see that here later on.
Okay.
Or if it was a big busload of them, they would have brought them in the north wagon gate.
Okay.
We'll see that here in a minute too.
Okay.
Any other questions before we head out?
So why was it they closed this particular prison?
So they closed it because it broke the 8th Amendment. Cruel and unusual punishment. Because of the conditions, vermin was everywhere, rats, mice, roaches, fleas, maggots. Also, inadequate airflow, no AC, no heating. The cell sizes were seen as inhumane. North Hall is 5 by 7 by 7 foot. And new wall was about 5 by 7 by 9, so they're just a little taller. They're seen as inhumane now.
Was there pushback that they were trying to make it more humane, just for these people are, incarcerated for a reason?
I'm not 100% sure on that one. So we're gonna go ahead and make it official and head to prison. You guys can follow me. That's how you know you guys are locked in. I'm keeping you. Just kidding, just kidding. Maybe I'm kidding him. No, so you guys are now in the main street or the main corridor. This would have been the main way for the guys in New Wall to come in or out. To either go out to the Red Door South Yard for their sports or over to North Yard for their jobs, because this place was very self-efficient. Out 12th Street, they have their own farm, their own animals, they raise and butcher, also their own coal mine. So they really did everything for themselves. Until this new south side was built, the original north side was only made for about 800 men, and at our peak, we had 2,700. When we were in North Hall later, that was our general population until they built this side. And like I said, those cells are 5 by 7 by 7 foot, and when it was general population down there, they had 3 men per cell. You're gonna wonder how? Because you can go to Sam's Club and buy dog kennels bigger, they see and eat it. You think I'm joking? I'm not. It's insane. So in 1929, it was like, apparently we need more prison. They made inmates start construction on this newer south side until they passed a law when the Depression hit that inmates was no longer allowed to be hired for that work. So construction crews took over, like I said, about 30 years to finish this side until 1959. When they did finish this side, that opened up New Wall. That became your new general population. General run-of-the-mill inmate, bad check, murder, drug conviction, anything you can be in prison for, levels 1 through 5. Unless it was a rapist or that kind of convict, then they would have been further down in protective custody. Then your honor or trustee inmates would have been even further down in honor hall. The first housing unit we will be visiting today is North Hall, and on paper later that became segregation. But nicknamed by a man named Danny Lehman, you'll hear his name again here in a minute. He nicknamed that the jail inside of the prison, because it did not matter your conviction to get in here. It mattered what you did in here. Minor rule violation, you killed somebody, you were bad in here, it landed you over there. They were in their cells 23 hours a day, they were fed themselves, they had an hour of outside time and a 10-minute shower 3 times a week. So they very much prefer to be in New Wall, where those men had more freedom of movement, where they were only really locked down at night. They were allowed out from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. And they had something called a 10-minute run on the hour of every hour, where on the hour those doors would open up for 10 minutes for them to come in or out. Then after those 10 minutes, they shut until the next hour. Now if you guys see that gun cord right there, you guys will notice that it lines up perfectly with the lines on the ground. The inmates would have to walk inside the lines with the hand on the wall and the hand on the shoulder of the buddy in front of them. If they had to step out of that line, they would get one very loud verbal warning to get back in. If they did not, they stepped out again or made a move towards the officer that was in this hallway unarmed. That officer would drop down that gun board and stick a shotgun barrel out of it, and he had the authority to shoot to kill with a 12-gauge pump shotgun. Now, if anybody knows anything about shotguns in here, can you imagine firing a shotgun off anywhere in this prison? Not only the noise, but it's kind of got a ricochet off everything. So do we have any questions? So when we had this way, guys, there is going to be a hallway, and it has a little rise in the floor in 2 places. Please watch your step when we head through it. You guys can follow.
And sinus.
not a real one. No, it was just hanging and revocation here for execution. No gas chamber. So, this part of the prison was used for a couple purposes. We're going to use our imagination really quick. We're going to take that beautiful mural wall, the cabin walls, bathrooms, and we're going to knock them out. We're going to make a huge wide open room, and we're going to go 200 feet north. This would have been their dining hall, and I mean massive dining hall. It could feed up to 300 men at a time, and the conditions in here was terrible. Rats, mice, roaches, fleas, maggots, anything and everything you can imagine they had it in here. The rats described as small dogs, running away with your food as you're trying to eat it. The rats and mice would get up into the ceilings. They died. Flies would come in. Maggots was known to rain down onto these men's shoulders and into their food as they are eating. The roaches running around the floors described big enough to throw a saddle onto them. Those same roaches being cooked into mashed potatoes. Little extra protein. The kitchen workers was not given gloves or hairnets, so fingernails, dead skin, and hair also being cooked into the food. God knows what else, because the sewage was known to back up into the floors of the kitchen while they were cooking. So they're eating in cooking areas of this bad, imagine what their cells were like. Can you imagine a number of violent riots we've had over the conditions? West Virginia's last and most violent riot started about where you're standing in this old dining hall. It was the 1986 New Year's Day riot. Lasted 52 hours, 16 hostages was taken, 15 of your correctional officers, then 1 of your kitchen workers. Then 3 inmates, 3 of their own were brutally murdered. They was known as informants, rats, or snitches, so they were taken care of. 2 men was appointed negotiators for that riot. You have Alvin Gregory, then that Danny Lehman I mentioned earlier. He had been like the leader of that riot, the lead negotiator. They had a list of 15 demands, but only one of those demands was appointed to them, and that was a new dining hall. They wanted one with better food, better conditions to eat in general, more attention to care of the people that had dietary needs or preferences, also one with AC and heating, because nowhere in this prison had it. They wanted a comfortable place to eat because they was always promised change with no action, so they took their own action. That cost taxpayers about $3 million. And construction on that new dining hall finished March of 1987. So when they finished that, they threw up that wall, the cabin wall, the bathrooms, put in some big long tables, and this became contact visitation. The inmates was allowed 1 hug and 1 kiss at the door of their loved ones. Then they could come into the tables and hold hands with their loved ones from across the tables. 3 men came to this room with the kids in mind, because it was a loud, scary, smelly place for strangers everywhere. They didn't know what was going on. Also very scary, because you would have had an officer in that crow's nest with a 12-gauge pump shotgun, watching over everything. Now, one of the men that came to this room, his name was Sean Adamy, and he was colorblind. So I'm going to blame him for why the Ninja Turtles are just a tiny bit messed up. You guys take a look at the red one. That's Raphael. Absolutely perfect besides the L on his nameplate. That should be an R. Then over here, the orange one, that's Michelangelo. He should have an M, not an R, and nunchucks, not a staff. But if you didn't know the Ninja Turtles, you wouldn't know the difference. Still saying you did a pretty good job. Now, you guys take a look over in the corner at the paper mache display. That is the ancient Adena people. They were mound builders here in Mounds from about 2,000 years ago. Well, that was inmate made for the Archaeological Museum across the street for the mound. Did you guys see the 64-foot tall mound across the street? That was their burial mound. Well, that used to be over there until they shipped it back to us because of complaints of lack of clothing. We'll take it, it's history. We try to keep care of it the best we can, but you may notice that little boy in the back is missing his face. About 20 years ago, we had the U.S. Marines in here training with night vision goggles and paintball guns. Those men are running around. One of those Marines is like, I'm gonna get in there. He was hiding in the back of that display, and in the darkness, I don't know if that little boy reached out and grabbed him or what happened, but that little boy startled him so badly when he whipped around, the butt of his rifle took the face clean off that little boy. Don't think they invited those men back, but what can you say? He's a U.S. Marine. He showed that little boy his boss. So do you guys have any questions? Would anybody like to take a second to take any pictures before we head out? You guys can follow me out to the hallway. So a couple days out, if you go look at our museum, there's actually a pork shank in there.
So the old Don is a fellow.
I'm not 100% sure what type of silverware they have there. So this is the MBR hallway, or the main dining room hallway. As you guys can see from the cinder block, it is modern, so it was put in after that riot. That red door behind you guys, and this red door beside me, those rooms would have became your state shop. It's where they would have kept your state-issued bedding and clothing. Also where they deloused them. So lice, right next to their bedding and clothing. Now, when this was a dining hall, I'm going to tell you how massive it was. From where I'm standing to that wall, wet, was complete dining hall. And then the tiles here is where they would have got their trays out of big warming ovens, then went and sat down. Kitchen was also massive. The tiles, west, and a little left and north was all kitchen. So it was pretty massive dining hall kitchen. Now, I know this is a history tour, but this is where I get to sprinkle in just a little bit of my paranormal, a little bit of my ghosts. Anybody believe in the paranormal?
Oh, yeah.
Yes? So this hallway is also known as Shadow Man Hallway. In 2004, a woman named Polly Gear was heading that direction on an overnight paranormal investigation. When she said she got about halfway through the hallway when she heard a metallic type noise behind her. When she whipped around in front of that cafeteria door, there was about a 7-foot shadow figure. She said it kind of reacted to her flashlight, so she raised her old camera up, snapped a picture. You can Google that and find it anywhere. Or you can remind me at the end of your tour, hey Jay, Shadow Man, and I'll show you the picture we have in our museum. After that, we've had MTV Beer, Ghost Adventures, Ghost Hunters, literally any show on the Travel Channel, a couple YouTubers, Sam McColby, Slade Spooky Boo, and Call Me Chris, then a couple non-paranormal shows and movies that I'll get into later. Any questions? Box on the wall. Take a look at it, and I'll tell you about it in the cafeteria. You guys want me?
Pill wall. Is that what you
So did you guys take a look at the pill window? That was a pill window or medicine window where inmates would have got their pills and they had to take it with their food. So like blood pressure meds, psych meds. You'd have had a nurse in that room giving them the medicine through the window. Then you would have had an officer standing right next to the actual pill window in the actual room there with a radio watching over these men, making sure they took their pills. But these men were issued to shave, so they had state-issued flimsy razors. Well, there's a story of one of those men took that razor apart, cut the insides of his cheeks, stuffed pencils erasers in there, let that heal for about 2 weeks, popped those pencils erasers out, then he had pockets to put pills in. So whatever didn't absorb, sell them, get high off them, or if they got enough of them and they were desperate enough to commit suicide off of them, because some of these men never saw another way out. Now, you guys are now in the new cafeteria or the new dining hall. This is a result of that 1986 riot. The men really appreciated this part of the prison because they felt like they put in the effort to get it. It was a comfortable 68 degrees all year long, because in February, a cell block could get down to 40, and in July, the 4th tier of a cell block could get up to 130. So very hot and very cold. This was like an oasis, very comfortable place for them to eat. Food in here a lot better. Hot dogs, hamburgers, french fries, chicken wings, ham on Easter, turkey on Thanksgiving. They made over 200 turkeys every Thanksgiving. So I think that's a real upgrade from roach mashed potatoes. Now, if you guys take a look at the child lines, this child line would have been your general child line. Anybody and everybody. Unless you had a dietary need or preference, then you'd get your food on that side. The inmates was allowed to the child lines one time, then they could help themselves as much as they wanted to the soup or salad bar. Testament to how good that food was here, officers and staff will come pay $1.05 to eat the same food the inmates was eating. That's why we have that diagonal wall. They would have ate behind that wall, so you didn't have 120 inmates staring at 20 officers, so you didn't have that conflict. On a good day, you would have 4 officers in here. You'd have one in that room with a shotgun, one in each water fountain with a radio, then one in the kitchen with a baton watching over your 25 trustee or honor inmates. But the men in the kitchen really policed over themselves
because it was a cushy job to have. So it was like an unwritten rule of don't mess this up for the rest of us. So they really watched over themselves. The same men that painted the contact visitation we just left painted this roof too. You guys take a look at the truck on the wall. That was painted by a man named Smitty Harding. Smitty was a trucker. He was on the road Monday through Friday of every week. Well, he got home one Friday night, and in his own words, his wife Sandy had nagged him. He wanted to sit on the couch and drink a beer because he hasn't been home all week. She wanted to go out to eat and be with her husband because she hasn't seen him all week. Well, Smitty said she was nag. 2 weeks later, state police find Sandy dismembered in the freezer. He got life with no mercy, no chance of parole, and he died 7 years ago, still incarcerated in prison. He painted a memorial for her too. It's on the cab behind the door on the truck. It's a heart with her name in it and some eagle wings. Anytime anybody ever asked him, well, why'd you do it? I loved Sandy, but she shouldn't have nagged me. So I'm going to turn you guys loose for a second in this room. Take a look at the pictures, paintings. I just ask you do not go into the kitchen because there is a lot of tripping hazards. And if you have any questions, just let me know.
Oh, I see.
1866
That's where the police hung out. Yeah, you better stay on that side. He's about to be in trouble. Goodness.
Inmates made. We're going to take it all the way back to 1866 when we opened, and we're going to take a look at that north wagon gate. Kind of looks like a church steeple, the white part of the prison. That's your original part of the prison. You'd have had about 100 to 120 men stacked in there like sardines until they finished this north side where that became your general population. Then when they finished the south side, that became your gen pop and that became your segregation. The tallest part of the prison, that is the administration building. The third and fourth floors is where the warden and his family would have lived because he was issued to live on property. Then in 1960, they built the warden's mansion outside of the South Wagon Gate on 12th Street. You guys can ride by it and see it. It's pretty cool. The second floor would have been for your offices, warden's office, deputy warden's office, and your records. The fourth on the second floor is where the warden could have walked out to talk to the men that was on the yard. Then the first floor would have been the closest thing they had to a lobby. It was open to the public. You could have came in and mailed your post. U.S. Post Office was in there. Payroll and processing. Your old non-contact was in there until they moved it where you guys started. Commissary, belt shop, leather shop. You could have came in and bought things these men made. Belts, wallets, purses, rocking chairs, tables. Then my favorite, you could have came in and paid 50 cents to get your hair cut by an inmate. Oh. Or for the men, your neck shaved with a straight razor by a convicted murderer. Oh. 50 cents, that's not a bad deal. Now another modern addition besides that cafeteria is that blue building. That blue building was put in about 1972, and that would have became your state industries. It's where they would have made road signs, license plates, converted books of Braille. A lot of their workshops was in there. We have a 1982 license plate in our museum, and it's a little yellow. A lot of the plates that year were pretty yellow, and they asked them, well, why? If you're giving us faulty paint, the paint's bad. They were urinating in the paint because they knew that the ammonia in their urine would make the paint crack and fade pretty quickly in the sun. So they made piecework. More P plates they made, more new plates they'd have to make, more money they made. There was a notion that inmates are stupid men, not stupid men, stupid choices. Now that blue building is now our event center. Are you guys ready? We have MMA fights, small-scale concerts, oddities expos, vendors expos, tattoo conventions, paranormal conventions, high school reunions, classrooms, trainings, offices, and my favorite, weddings. We have 3 to 4 couples each year come to get married in prison. We had one in April. I cannot think of a better place you could come receive your life sentence.
We should do that.
Do you guys have any questions? Now, when we head through the yard, please be mindful of the holes, dips, steps, bumps, rocks, whatnot. There is a lot through the yard. Also, the wagon gate. People like to fly in that wagon gate like there is no tomorrow. And if you see me trip and fall, no you didn't, I'll still give you your tour on the ground. You guys can follow me. Come out for their hour of outside time. But beforehand, if you take those bullpens and square them right about in the middle, right about here, that's where that 2-story white building, the death house, would have been, where Old Sparky and the gallows would have been housed. Until June of 1931, you could have packed a picnic, brought your kids, walked in that wagon gate, and paid $2 to come watch, a hanging. The way they advertise it in the newspapers, pack a picnic, bring the kids, come to the state pen to watch a nice hanging. June of 1931, a man named Frank Heyer was executed. He was known as a little big man. He was about 5'8" and 350 pounds. And when you do a hanging correctly, rope measurement is calculated on height and weight. Well, when they calculated his rope length, they did it wrong. It was too long. So when they hung him, he instantly decapitated in front of a live audience that paid $2 to come watch it. Say they got their money's worth that day. You did come watch a hanging, and you brought your kids. So after that, it really became invitation only, family of the victim, family of the inmate, or a couple people, the media. Until 1938, West Virginia's first triple hanging. They said, let's open it back up. They get the 2 on the ends noosed up, and they're waiting to noose up the man in the middle, Orville Atkins. Well, the drop doors broke prematurely. He dropped 15 feet, broke his arms, legs, face, collarbone. They didn't want to waste the expensive medical equipment on him. Strapped him to a gurney, carried him back up the stairs, hung him correctly, gurney and all. Then they closed it back off because the warden's like, oh, we're making too many mistakes. Then in 1948, the warden at the time was like, hanging is a really inhumane way of killing somebody. Let's use the electric chair. So after that, they started using Old Sparky in 1951. You guys have any questions? You guys can follow me? So until 1947, this place was co-ed. We'd had about 100 women at one point that would have been housed in a 2-story brick building. But in 2 riots in 1960, will you get out of here? I'm gonna kick you in the rump. Get.
I ain't seen you in a while.
I know. I haven't had nobody to pick on me. It's been boring. So 1968. These men torched everything, so they had to tear out that brick building. We always get asked, who do you think's the most infamous inmate? I think it was one of the women. Her name was Kathleen Maddox. You guys recognize that name? Kathleen Maddox. Charles Manson's mother. His mother and uncle Luther Maddox was in here because in 1942 they robbed a gas station in Charleston, West Virginia with a broken ketchup bottle. Strong arm robbery. So at the ripe age of 8, Charlie was in here visiting his mom because he lived about 10 minutes up the road in McMecken, West Virginia with his Aunt Glenna. In 1983, Charles Manson tried to get transferred here. He sent a letter to the warden at the time, Warden Donald Bordenkircher. Bordenkircher got that letter, read it, said, oh, no. Dear Charlie, when hell freezes over. Signed, Donald Bordenkircher. So, you guys have any questions? We're going to head into the bullpens. When we head in, please watch your step. There's a pipe that leads across the bottom. I just don't want you guys tripping. About 90% of all the men in North Hall had some sort of sentence. So what is stopping a lifer from killing somebody when there is no death penalty? Nothing. They didn't care. They became extremely dangerous, extremely violent. To show how dangerous and violent, you'll see the razor wire that lines the top of the bullpens. That is military grade concertina wire. It is complete stainless steel razor made to bleed you out. It has butterfly shaped meat hooks on it that if it gets caught on you and you try to wiggle your way out, that stuff's wiggling its way deeper. But to tell you how sharp it is, it's manufactured by Gillette. So you know what that means? It's the best a man can get. Patunch. There you go, Duke. That's his favorite Duke. So before we head into North Hall, I'm gonna tell you guys about the first 4 cells. You are going to notice that the first 4 cells are all separate from the rest. That is because they were for your 4 highest ranking gang members of the Aryan Brotherhood in here, or the AB. The first cell you'll pass was home to the leader of that Aryan Brotherhood in here. His name was William Snyder. They called him Red. 2 doors down in the other white cell was home to a man named Russell Lassiter. They called him Rusty. Rusty and Red were the only 2 of those 4 men allowed on the yard together because they were known to play well. Guards thought they were friends. Well, there is a 2-stage locking mechanism on these doors. About halfway down, you have the key lock that an officer has to come down to unlock those 2 doors. Then he's got to go all the way to the end of the cell block to man the slam bar that runs across the top of the cells. That's why it's called the slammer. Well, when he's down there manning the slam bar, he can't see what's going on down here. Rusty walks out of his cell, walks in the Red cell, and stabs Red 37 times in the face, neck, and chest. His official cause of death was asphyxiation. He drowned on his own blood underneath his bunk.
Goodness.
Any questions? Any questions? So when we head out of the bullpens, please watch your step. If you are taller than me, watch your head when we head into North Hall. It's all low clearance. And I do not care what cells you go into on B block, do not shut the doors. You will not be leaving here today if you do. You think I'm joking? I'm not. I may look very strong, but I have the strength of a toddler. You will be stuck in that cell. So any questions before we head in? You guys can follow me.
Oh my. Wow, that is. Jesus. You can barely, literally fit through the door. I'm a little too wide. Wow. Oh, look at that pink. So that was the first guy. So the guy that was in this bunk came out and went over there and stabbed that other guy 37 times. Look at just the wow.
Early years 3. Later years 1. What is it? Right?
They wouldn't have lights in here. All their lights.
Unless it says like Jenny was here or Tom was here, then no, that's not original. But I didn't use it when I started walking basketball. Like
There's a lot of stuff to check on.
what is it?
Is that
Yeah. Call for a good time.
Whoa, now. Segregation, this is North Hall, 1 man per cell, but early years, this is where they would have 3 man per cell. If you look on the walls, about chest high on most of them, there's rivet holes for your top bunk, bottom bunk, weakest of the 3 on the ground, with their head underneath the toilet. Because if they slept with their head near this beanhole and somebody is walking by and doesn't like them, it'd be very easy for them to slip their arm in and slit your throat. So you sleep with your head underneath the toilet, because it's better to get stabbed in the boot than it is in the throat. Then segregation, 1 man per cell. When the officers came to feed these men, they were wearing full-on riot gear. They looked like SWAT officers, because how dangerous these men could be. They do something called gassing, where they take blood, urine, feces, any bodily fluid, and fling it into an officer's face. They were allowed to have tobacco, so matchbooks. They would start fires and fling it into an officer's face, or start fires just to start them. If you guys take a look at the ceiling fans, they are black from fires over the years. They would make shanks or shivs, specifically metal ones, by taking the paneling of their door or the paneling of their bed with some sort of abrasive, so Ajax or Comet, slap that on there, use those razors I mentioned earlier, or some dental floss to do something called scoring, where they could keep going until they get thin enough where they could pop it off. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to grab your hand there. 11 has one, 14 has one, 16 has one, 3 has one. Then they take that piece of metal and sharpen it on the ground. Take a look at cell number 8. You can see the grooves is where somebody was starting to sharpen a shank. Oh, yeah. Thought it was safer to feed these men on plasticware. You file down plasticware in the concrete or stock up on them and melt them together and file it down. You could kill somebody. They use a form of paper mache where they could get it hard enough where they could file it down to stick you with it. Melt down a toothbrush, shove a razor in there. Then you have a box cutter, or what they called a throat cutter. Everything these men was given could and would become a weapon. Now, plumbing in here was absolutely nightmarish. When somebody on the south end of this cell block would flush her toilet, it'd bubble up into the next guy's sink and all the way down. So when somebody down there would flush, they would yell, "Flush!" So they knew it was coming. Now, if I lived in cell number 8, and I really did like my cellmate number 9, I'm gonna use the bathroom all day and not flush it until I hear them brushing their teeth. You're gonna be petty, be very petty. Now you guys may notice cell number 9 has a lot of characters, some really good music. Leonard Skinner, Guns N' Roses, Hank Williams, David Allan Coe. Shut up. That was home to a 19-year-old tattoo artist named Danny Alexander. They call him Scrappy. Scrappy was in prison for an 11-year sentence on attempted murder. He was in there because he would not stop tattooing. Minor rule violation, so they shipped him down here. Now there's a show on Hulu called Castle Rock. Has Bill Skarsgård, the newer Pennywise, in it. It is a horror-esque show. It's Stephen King. The first 5 or 6 episodes of the first season was filmed all over this entire prison. That cell was extremely highlighted in it. So now Scrappy's got a big old head on his shoulders because that cell went Hollywood. So you guys can take a look around for a second. You got any questions, just let me know. I'll meet you guys down this way. I'm walking you guys in there.
I worked with him.
Justin? Oh, deal! What's your name?
Ken.
Ken? Perfect. I'm keeping Ken. He's mine now. So, do we notice anything funny about cell number 3 here? You're shaking your head, yeah, but you're not saying.
Big old piece missing.
No, it is added.
Oh, added.
So, a raise of hand. Can we take a guess of why this is cut out like this? Put added on. What?
Wheelchair.
Yes. This was home to a man named Paul Hankish. He was a mob boss of Wheeling and Pittsburgh areas in the early 1980s. Nothing came in or out without him knowing and getting some sort of cut. Well, one year, some men from Cleveland, Ohio tried to kill him with a car bomb. They did not. They blew off his legs. He was in a wheelchair. He was in Newhall, mouthing off. He could do anything he wanted. He cannot be touched because he knew that these cells was too narrow to fit his chair. Maintenance man heard him mouthing off and said, ADA compliant. You can come down to North Hall. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. You're going to run your mouth. You're going to find out. So he did come down to North Hall. And a little food for thought, something to leave here with. This is the only door in North Hall that can fit a wheelchair. Those doors do not. I know that from wheelchairs on tour. And there's stairs leading to the bullpens. He went outside for his hour of outside time and they did not carry him. So keep that in mind. So if you guys walk into cell number 2, all the way in and look to your right, there's an awesome picture in there. It's called reverse shading. That man took cigarette ash, smeared it onto the wall, then erased the picture out with an eraser. You cannot see it from outside the cell. And you are safe because there's no lock on that door. Officers would have placed the men's food up on that plastic where I mentioned, then took it to them. Also where the officers would have sat during the day, because once they clocked in, they were not allowed to leave North Hall. When the inmates went out to the yard, they were strip searched when they went out, strip searched when they came back in. When they had 4 of them in here, it was shower day, they took them over here to the gang shower. I will try to show you the best I can, but bear with me, I'm short. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's where the water would have came out of. Now, you may notice there's no controls. Temperature and pressure was controlled by a correctional officer in that back room. So if those inmates did something to that officer they shouldn't have, or he just feels like it, he wait till they get all nice and bubbly, then shut off the water, make them go back to their cell sticky. February freezing, July scalding. Now, this was not caged off when it was general population. They only caged it off when it became segregation to stop the men from throwing things off the cell blocks or throwing themselves off the cell blocks. Now, you guys can imagine the noise level in here for me just talking. Imagine them screaming, yelling, banging on the walls, shaking their doors. It got loud. Also, if they could afford to buy it and pay their bill, they could have an 11-inch color TV or a radio. So very, very loud. Also very stinky. BO, cigarette smoke, regular smoke. And if you guys look, in the middle of the cell blocks, there is a door. That was the plumbing channels. That was known to waterfall sewage. So very loud and very stinky. Do you guys have any questions? We're gonna head into the administration building. You guys can follow me. When we head in, there is 2 little stairs that has little lips on the front. Please watch your step and watch the toe of your shoes when we head
in. Sorry.
If you don't have cell phones, we're gonna get Now I got my head in here, my knee pushing against it. What is it? He's trying to lock me in. That's not fair. That's not
Church.
Building. You're in the tallest part of the prison to give you an idea. We like to call it the wheel for this right here. There's only 2 of these in the world. You have this one, and then one in a prison in Manchester, England called Strangeways. It is a 4-way revolving door, and it would have been your only way in or out if you was the public, or your only way in if you was being processed, unless it was a big busload of them. Then they would have brought them in the north wagon gate. Would have been man operated until they put a trolley motor on top with a cloth belt to make it go round. If you guys can see from your side, it is flush, so it's harder to sabotage and pop open from that side. No. And then the officer in the actual cage had the big key to be able to unlock it. If you guys look to your right, that would have been your payroll and processing here. To your left would have been your old non-contact visitation. Then the stairs on the other side would have led up to the warden's quarters and offices. And the woodworking on the stairs is absolutely gorgeous. Those rooms over there, which you're more than welcome to go to, would have been your U.S. Post Office. Then over here would have been your commissary, belt shop, leather shop, and barber shop, till they moved the barber shop closer to our lobby later in years. You guys are more than welcome to hop on the wheel, take pictures, videos, whatnot. And if you have certain groups and you want group photos, I'm more than happy to snap photos. Not only an amazing tour guide, I'm also an amazing photographer.
The wheel.
Now, we had a show in here a couple years ago called Mine Hunters. Has anybody heard of it? FBI profiler show on Netflix, Mine Hunters. Season 1, episode 9 was filmed a little bit in here. I think it was on Robert Speck. It would have looked a lot different if you watched it. They would have had fake walls where their linoleum ends and our original tiling begins, because they realized they couldn't buy our original tiling. So they took pictures and printed out linoleum. Then they hated our modern breaker box. Said it was ugly, so they built this box over top. When they left, they was like, hey, you just want to tear up the floors, take the box? No, we'll keep it. It's pretty. Do you guys have any questions? Everybody got a chance to look on the wheel that wanted to look?
door.
So proud.
Transit windows, maybe.
You look at riding that elevator.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, we're back in. And that might have been another part. There's the door there you look in. There's some of the original.
So, so you guys just headed to the backside of that nasty kitchen I mentioned earlier. After that 1986 riot, they turned it into classrooms for these men to be able to get their GED. When it was a kitchen, right there where the cone is would have been one of the old grease traps. Also, as a kitchen, they would have had 3 giant ice machines in the back corner. One year they realized these men wasn't eating as much and they were making a lot of ice. Officer was walking through here when he heard a rustling noise behind those ice machines. He went back there, there's inmates back in there. They hacked into the water filtration, stuffing bread and fruit inside of it, making homemade alcohol. It was for Jolo. Then they were stocking up on their jellies and jams for breakfast, mixing it with that, getting drunk off their tail in front of the officer, eating a peanut butter and basically Jolo shot sandwich. So if there's a will, there is a way. That room over there would have been your state shop. It's where they would have kept their state-issued bedding and clothing. There's nothing to see in there anymore. It's not the big wide open room. So we're gonna head this way. Do you guys have any questions? You guys can follow me?
Oh. The pill room. Back down the north.
Yeah, when we're in here, and then we have to go pick her up and take her out. Out on the south yard, this would have been the rec yard for the guys in Newall to come out and play their sports. They could play a lot of sports: handball, tetherball, basketball, baseball, football, softball. On occasion, they would bus high school and college teams in here to play these men. And on very rare occasion, they'd bus these men out north to Wheeling, West Virginia to play away games. Can you imagine your son playing against an inmate? Now, if you guys take a look at tower number 4, you guys can see the difference of the original south wall that inmates made compared to what construction crews built. Big night and day difference. Personally, I like what the inmates made better. I think it's prettier. Now, the only thing that was made by inmates' hands on this side of the prison is the bathrooms and the chapel. The chapel would have been your all-faith chapel. Hindu, Muslim, Jewish, Catholic, Christian, and then a lawsuit in 1992, the Satanists and devil worshippers were allowed to go in and do their worship too. The bathrooms used to look a lot different. They used to be walled off, but you can imagine a walled-off bathroom on a men's maximum security prison. There was a man in there one day asking for some favors when the men didn't like that too much, so they bashed in his head to the point he looked like ground beef. He survived. He had to have complete facial reconstructive surgery, but the warden said, "You're going to act like animals. I'm going to treat you like animals. I'm taking the wall." Now, if it was too hot, too cold, they could not come out to the yard for any reason. They had one of the entrances over there to a full-size basement, like a rec room or like a pool room, pool table, foosball, arcade games, couches. But the yard officer that was surveillance out here would not go down there very often. Way too many places to get cornered and killed. If it tells you anything of what the inmates are doing down there, the inmates nicknamed that part of the prison the Sugar Shack. So a lot of consensual and non-consensual stuff went on down there. Also a lot of gambling and murder. Now, the buses and obstacle courses are not original. They're for the mock riot and trainings I mentioned earlier. Then the stuff here on the weight pad, the exercise equipment, is also not original. It is props from a movie called Out of the Furnace, Woody Harrelson, Casey Affleck, William Dafoe, Christian Bale. I heard it's a pretty good movie. Out of the Furnace. Do you guys have any questions? We're gonna head back in and to your final stop on your tour today, your grand finale, Newhall. I have something to really round off your trip to prison. And this is a part of the tour where I get to pick one person I am legally allowed to keep. Ken, you're mine.
This is the Sugar Shack.
You guys, a little warning. There is a drain channel. If you guys go too close to the wall, it kind of drops off. If you're not paying attention and you step in it, you will twist your ankle. So if you go too close to take a picture of the cell block, please watch the drain channel. You guys can follow me. They had more freedom of paints in here, just no dark colors, no blacks, browns, or dark grays, because it was seen as an issue to be able to see these men to count them at night. Open. The gang shower there beside you guys can shower 6 to 9 men, and the second tier had a straight chop you into it. The officers nicknamed this part of the prison Migraine City, because how loud it could get. Shut up! Now, that's little old me. Imagine 600 grown men screaming, yelling, shaking the doors. It got loud. Migraine City. Now, we like to say, no trip to prison would be complete without a lockdown. I'm kidding, unless you want to. I use cells 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6. Anybody want to get locked into a cell? There is one and one. I think cell 5 out of one. Cell number 1's open, anybody? There's no bed though.
Oh, sorry. Here, do you want to come in? You want in?
Cell number 1. Maybe cells 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6. 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6. Anybody else want to get locked into a cell before I go to shut them? So, everybody listen up that way into a cell. Indicators on these doors. You stick it on the leg, it will snap it off. So back up. Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
I think the crib messed with the door.
Why? You think the cell was broken? Okay, come out. Oh. Okay, open that cell. Over here, I said, open that cell.
Hey, get the cell, Dave.
Well, you can stay in there. I'm trying to get you to go in that cell. Ask if you could stay in.
I wouldn't even fit there. It's so small. Look at that. Like, look at how big that is.
Comfy, cozy. So you could stay in there. I was just trying to get him to go in with you guys. You want to come out here? He's like,
Yep.
okay, back up. Here we go. Come on out. I want to sit there. It's not for lock the kids. That's to control these particular. I want to lock the door. So when they open it, and I don't work here. It is not. So we have our haunted house that started up. We also have a 45-minute paranormal tour on the old north side of the prison, old north block. We also have a escape room here that you guys can come enjoy. All the information for that, where you can book your tickets, will be on our website, wvpentours.com. Everything you need will be on there. Do we have any questions? Well, I liked you guys so much. You behaved pretty well. Go ahead and get you guys paroled. You guys can follow me.
All right, crazy fam, that was the tour of the West Virginia State Penitentiary. Guys, this place is amazing. I mean, it's not amazing. It's a state penitentiary where lots of bad stuff happened. But, I mean, to see it, it was really cool. I definitely recommend it. Big shout out to Miss Jalen. She did a great job as our tour guide. She was amazing. I love her. And I totally recommend this. It was really cool. Shout out to Mr. David as well. I met him. And I just want to say, guys, this was amazing. It's a definite, you should definitely do this. If you're in West Virginia, around Moundsville, I would drive here to do this again. It's amazing. I can't wait to come back. And so, guys, just remember to live life, have fun, be kind. Wait. Hit the subscribe button and then the little notification bell. Like it, share it. You know, guys, come on, do all of that. And guys, just live life and have fun. We love you. Till next time.